For decades, we've secured our digital world by building fortresses. But what if I told you those walls aren't just failing? They're actually making the problem worse. Yeah, a whole new philosophy is taking over, and it all starts with a pretty simple and kind of radical idea. Trust nothing. You know the picture, right? The classic castle with a massive moat all the way around it. Well, for the longest time, that's exactly how we did cybersecurity. We built this strong digital perimeter, firewalls, VPNs, and we just assumed everything inside was safe and trusted. If you got past the gate, hey, you must be one of the good guys. Simple, right? Well, turns out way too simple. And here's the huge, fatal flaw in that old way of thinking. That whole castle and moat thing only protects against attacks from the outside. So what happens when the enemy is already inside? I mean, all it takes is one phished password, one compromised laptop, and an attacker is past the wall. And once they're inside, they find a world of unlocked doors, because everything and everyone is automatically trusted. So the National Institute of Standards and Technology, you'll hear them called NIST. They actually have a name for this. It's called unauthorized lateral movement, and it is one of the biggest challenges out there. Just think about it for a second. An attacker gets in, and because of all that built-in trust, they can just move sideways, hop from server to server, looking for the really valuable stuff. At that point, those big fortress walls, they're basically just for show. Okay, so we know the fortress is failing, but what actually caused those walls to start crumbling in the first place? Let's take a look at the evidence. Well, here's the root of the problem. The world that model was built for, it just doesn't exist anymore. It was designed for a time when everyone worked in one office on one single network. But today, the office is, well, it's everywhere. It's your house, it's a coffee shop, it's an airport. Our data isn't sitting in a server room in the basement anymore. It's all in the cloud. So where do you even draw the line for a perimeter? The truth is, you can't. And the consequences of that are absolutely huge. Get this. A staggering 83% of companies were breached last year because of a compromised machine identity. We're talking about things like apps and automated services that are constantly talking to each other. The old model just was not built for this new reality, and it is failing, big time. So if the old model is completely broken, what's the solution? Well, it's a complete shift in mindset, and it's captured by a really simple but incredibly powerful new philosophy. This right here is the heart of the whole revolution. Never trust, always verify. It just completely flips the old model upside down. We throw out that old idea that just because you're inside the network, you're somehow safe. Instead, we assume nothing. Every single request to access data is treated like it's coming from a totally open, untrusted network. It has to prove itself every single time. And this philosophy has a name: zero trust. NIST defines it as a fundamental shift away from defending some imaginary line on a map. Instead, we put our guards directly around the things that actually matter: the data, the applications. It doesn't matter where you are physically located, you are not trusted by default. Period. And believe me, this isn't some hot new fad. The term was actually coined way back in 2010, but things really kicked into high gear in 2021 when the US government actually mandated that its agencies adopt it. And now, today, well over half of all organizations are actively working on their own zero trust strategies. Okay, so never trust, always verify. Sounds great in theory, but how do you actually build it? Let's get into the official blueprint and see how this idea turns into a real architecture. So, the official playbook comes from NIST in a document called Special Publication 800-207. You can think of this as the official roadmap that gives everyone a common language and a clear set of plans for building a zero trust system. At its core, this whole architecture really boils down to three key parts working together. First, you've got the policy engine. That's the brain. It looks at a request and makes that final yes or no call. Then you have the policy administrator, which is kind of like the manager. It takes the decision from the brain and sets up a secure temporary path. And finally, the policy enforcement point. That's the security guard at the gate. It gets the order from the manager and physically opens or closes the door. Brain, manager, guard, all working together for every single request. And that brain, it is doing so much more than just checking a password. For every single request, it's making a real-time decision based on a whole bunch of different signals. Is this the right user? Is their laptop secure and up to date? Are they logging in from a place they normally do? It literally calculates a risk score on the fly before it grants any access. So if that old network perimeter is gone, what replaces it? The answer is simple: identity. Let's see how this actually works in practice.
And the industry overwhelmingly agrees on this. A massive 91% of organizations say that identity is the absolute core of their zero trust strategy. It is the new perimeter. Because think about it, if you can't be sure who or what is making a request, nothing else really matters, does it?
So this is where Zero Trust tackles a huge old school problem, standing privileges. In the old world, an admin might have the keys to the entire kingdom 24/7. That is incredibly risky. Zero Trust replaces that with something called just-in-time access. As you can see right here, an admin has to actually request temporary permissions for one specific task. As soon as the job is done, that access just evaporates. The keys are never just left lying around. And these policies are enforced automatically. What you're seeing here is a simple but really powerful rule. Block all connection attempts that come from services that hide a user's location, like certain proxies or VPNs that attackers love to use. The request gets shut down before it even gets a chance to try and authenticate. But here's the thing. It's not just about people anymore. Our networks are absolutely filled with a massive and often totally invisible non-human workforce. And securing them is the next great challenge. Just think about this for a second. In a lot of organizations, for every single human employee, there are 10 or more machine identities. We're talking about all the automated services, all the APIs, all the bots that are running our businesses behind the scenes. And every single one of them is a potential way in for an attacker. It's a massive and often invisible attack surface.
And our old security playbooks, they just flat out don't work for machines. You can't manually track bots that spin up and get destroyed in seconds. You can't have a manager approve an access request for an automated script. And hard coding a password into a service account, that's like leaving a key under the doormat forever.
And this risk isn't just theoretical. The story is almost always the same. A breach starts with one single forgotten service account, one that was created by a developer years ago for a project that doesn't even exist anymore. Nobody's watching it, its password has never changed. An attacker finds that one unlocked door, and from there, they can own the entire network. Which brings us to the absolute cutting edge of this whole challenge. See, this non-human workforce is getting smarter. We are right on the verge of deploying autonomous AI agents that will act just like team members. And they're going to need access to our most sensitive data to do their jobs. And that leaves us with the ultimate question for the future of security. How do you verify the identity of something that can actually think for itself? How do you apply never trust, always verify to a true artificial intelligence?